So, hi everybody. It's part two. I can tell because I just heard live streaming is on. So, all right. Let me just finish up real quick. I only got three more slides. Short part two. Anyways, so U.S. Sprint. What does that stand for? It stood for Southern Pacific Railroad Internal Communications, and they had nothing to do with communications really. It was just so that the people who worked on the railroad could communicate with each other. They had these long running fiber optic cable lines, and they realized, wait, we could commercialize this. This is so clear that when we tested stuff, we could hit the operators who tested it could hear a pin drop at the other end of the line. That's where the pin comes from, and that's why the Sprint logo looks like it does, and that's why I was so confused as a kid, because I never knew that. But just to say, they didn't use compression, but these guys do. And you can't hear anything these days. If you call up a 1-800 number and they have, like they go to a call center in India and they have hold music and they're playing it, it'll sound terrible. And that's kind of the thing, is they compress it, and now it just goes to static because it's completely unintelligible. And there's a whole Tom Scott video about it. You all ought to watch it. But you got to make sure that you enable the right codecs here, so that, like, if you want to have music playing or you want to have like anything more complicated or HD, voice or anything like that, you got to enable it on the phone. You got to enable it on every phone that's going to receive it, and you got to kind of support it through RasPBX as well. So, last things that I want to show you with this are the memory keys. So on this phone, you've got, and on like a lot of them, like Cisco and some of those others, you've got these soft button keys that you can use for a lot of different things. Like they have messaging services. They have buttons so you can transfer calls from one place to another. In my case, I'm using a hotel grade phone, and they have buttons for room keeping, front desk, other things like that, but I renamed them. And like, I don't have a button for a maid. That would be kind of cool, but it doesn't come with a maid, unfortunately. So, like, I can't just press a button and have the Tesla bot come out and clean my room or something like that. But I do have something for the wake-up call service on all my phones. So anybody who stays in my guest room, they can wake up in the morning and it'll call them, "This is your wake-up call," But you might go to a hotel and hear, once you're familiar with the RasPBX wake-up call system, you might hear in a real hotel, and I've heard this, I went and looked, the exact same voice and the exact same clips, because they are using that system. And they also have like voicemail and other things. But, this part two ran long. So anyway, the last thing I'm just going to talk about is smart home integrations. So this was kind of a proof of concept I did. I don't have a video, I don't have a picture, but I'm just going to tell you a story about it. Y'all ever seen the show Deal or No Deal? So the banker calls you, and, well, basically, first you got a bunch of models standing with suitcases. You choose the one you want, and you decide, this is my case. And then you start opening cases and see what you didn't get. And then the banker calls you. And when the banker calls, the phone rings over there on the wall, and the lights all go dim. They all go red when the banker calls. And when they pick up the phone, then the lights go a different color as he talks to them and says, I will offer you $5,000 for that case. And then it turns out, no, I'm sticking with my case, and it's 50 cents, But I thought, can I do that myself? Can I make an integration where when I pick up this wall phone, and I mean, yeah, this wall phone or like one of the other analog phones that I have, can I make the lights in my house go red like that? And I could. And the way that I did it, this is actually, this is a picture of my house. That's a picture of the wall phone that I had set up there. And then, like, yeah, it's all kind of period accurate. It's 1970s-ish style. But that is smart bulbs that are connected to that lamp there. And when you pick up the phone, those go red. And the way that I did that was I used something called a visual syslog server, and you can use the Linux version. Obviously, y'all are Linux people, you know. I'd like to be more of a Linux guy, but here I am on my Mac on Microsoft PowerPoint. But anyway, so you use a syslog server and you program your analog telephone adapter so that when you pick up the phone, it logs that and it says phone off hook. And so then you look in here, you're reading this, and you're like, hey, I see phone off hook. So I'm going to fire my webhook, which goes to my Hue system, which sets the lights to go red. And then phone on hook, I put this back on here, it registers that. And now all of a sudden, I turn the lights back to what they were. And so I had that set up for a while, but I needed to keep this system running all the time. It's not like, you know, you integrate it. And so that's kind of what I did there. And that was really cool. And I realized, hey, you know, you can do all sorts of stuff like using just this logging server, an analog telephone adapter, and a phone. You can turn that into a controller for your smart home. You could say, like, I want to set my thermostat to 78 degrees or something, and say, like, you know, call my thermostat service and then type in 78 and then pound, and then it would do it. You know, like you can integrate with anything using FreePBX, which is really, really nice. And it was pretty magic. Anyways, that's, oh yeah, there's my Hue light. Anyways, that is everything I've got. And I thank you guys for watching. Yeah, thank you so much.
Now you should expect questions.
Okay, well, we'll see if I have any answers, you know?
Anyone have questions?
You literally answered all my questions.
I had one. Do you know when you buy the VoIP service, since it's set, you have to buy multiple numbers? Like, say you had someone wanted to call your bedroom, like extension 1.
You don't. You can do it all on one, or you could do multiple numbers if you wanted. What happens is there's this thing, and I can't remember what it was called. Let's see. Were you the one who said that you managed and admined a system? Because you said that you had, like, you knew something about pressing that red button. Did you do that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Do you remember? Yes. Do you remember what the system was where you had a voice menu where you could say, like, for this press 1, for this press 2, and so on? I know there was something in FreePBX that allowed you to do that. You could, like, make a recording and you could say, if you know your party's extension, dial it now. And then, like, you could set it up to accept input from the dialer, and then you could, like, dial it. So yes, you could do that. You could make, like, a system like that, or you could set it up as the default incoming call goes to a ring group that rings all the phones in your house.
That's called an IVR.
Yes, that's the one. I thought it was PVR, and that's personal video recorder, but IVR, yes, that's the one I was thinking of. So yes, there is a way to do that. You could do it either way. You can even have it, like, switch over, I think, where if it's like nighttime, you don't want to, you know, have every phone in your house ring, and so then you just go to a voice menu saying, you know, hey, I'm asleep right now, or something. Yeah, you could do that. Any other questions?
Emergency number 911. Do you think the UK suffered more fatalities throughout history than America?
Because of 999?
Yeah, because of 999.
They might have. I know that one person did suffer a fatality, and the reason why the E911 law and the $1.50 a month thing was actually because there is a law that 911 needs to go through every time, because a kid died, unfortunately, because you got to dial for an outside line and the kid didn't know it, and he couldn't, like, dial for help because he dialed 911, then it was like dialing 9 to reach an outside line, 11, and then it's like, okay, you know, what do you say? It's like it was tragic. And because of that, I can't remember what the name of the law was, but because of that, every business is obligated, like hotels and stuff, to put through a route direct to 911. Anybody else?
Robert was saying online that he's asking if anyone remembers Google Talk. He said he hooked up *PBX to that so that his former company could make free long distance calls.
That's cool.
I'm still using.
Google didn't care for that at all.
No, Google Voice. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I was actually looking into trying to find that out, and I found some companies that commercialized that. So you could buy a box that was like a Google Voice box, and you plugged it in, and then they were like, make free calls using Google. And then they shut it down real quick, you know? But yes, I looked for that. I tried to find it, and it didn't work because it's like they're trying very hard to not do that.
Another question.
Yeah.
Back to that service called Flow.
Flow Route, yeah.
Flow Route.
Mm-hmm. Let me go find that.
Is it a competitor to 8x8 in which you can have a soft phone on your cell that you can just get a number without having to have a private Raspberry Pi PBX? Can you just get your own phone number?
I think you can. They offer more than just SIP trunking. I know that. So there's a few different companies that do that these days. There's one that I had just heard of. The new competition in that space is eSIMs. So if you're traveling and stuff, you can get something called an eSIM, which all your new phones have that, and you could just buy a number, install it on your phone, and then it gets you onto the whole global GSM, 3G, 4G, 5G network. But I have heard of programs like that, like 8x8. I haven't heard of that one specifically, but I've heard of ones like that. And I know that, who is it? Vonage still has services kind of like that for business communication. Zoom now has a service just like that. Zoom Phone, they call it. It's not exactly the same as Zoom, but it's like it has SIP trunking, but also like a private, easy to use like version of all this runs on your computer. Skype also does similar stuff with you can have a real phone number through Skype, but I'm not sure about 8x8 because I haven't seen what they do. But I do know that there are services like that. Yes, Flow Route just happened to be the one that I found because it was like the cheapest that I found, and it was pretty easy. Do you have a question?
What client did you use on your desktop machine?
So there's a few of them. One of them was called, I think, like Zoiper, I think. Don't quote me on that. It was like if you search open source SIP client, you'll find one. Or you'll find many. Some of them are really old school. They don't look or act like modern programs, but that's kind of the name of the game. A lot of these things are pretty old, but I think Zoiper was one of them. Let's see, I can't remember the other one. It was orange. But yeah, I've used a few different ones. One thing that you can do is you can use a program called Virtual Audio Cable. And it'll on Windows, or you can use something called Jack on Linux. And what they do is they're like free audio cable emulator programs that you can connect up to different inputs and outputs on your computer. So if you wanted to I don't know why you'd want to do this, but you could have your digital audio workstation synthesizer connected to a voice line on your phone, and then when you called it up, you could play the piano for somebody. I don't know, but you could do that using one of those digital clients, like the one I was talking about, Zoiper, one of those, and a program called Virtual Audio Cable. So I was trying to do that to get the AI assistant that I had running over voice to do it, but the problem I ran into there was that I was running it locally and would take probably 45 seconds to generate audio of whatever I was going to say, and it was really staticky and I couldn't hear it, and it was really uncanny. It sounded just like a person, but through a lot of static. It was weird. But yeah, no, there's a lot of cool things you can do with that. But just Google SIP client Windows, Mac, Linux, and you'll find a bunch. Anybody else?
Ring Central had a orange logo.
Oh yeah, Ring. That is one. Ring Central. I think didn't that become Google Voice, or am I thinking of a different? Grand Central. Yeah, Ring Central. I've heard of them before on the radio actually, but Grand Central was kind of the idea. Google Voice. You had one number call, rings all your phones in order. Google Voice is still around. But yeah.
Does anyone online have a question? I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, don't get him started, but this same guy also recreated the channel guide. A very, very powerful representation of the original channel guide with all the
TV guide channel, but yeah.
channel guide
Yeah.
thing. It's bananas how cool and crazy it is. He doesn't like tout it enough, but it's super cool.
Well, once it's done, I'll send an invite to Hack Greenville for everybody to check it out, but it's not done yet. It only, well, it does a lot of stuff, and I've been working on it for 7 years now. But yeah, I'll show you someday. But yeah, no, that's my main project. I don't feel like coming in here though and talking to you guys about my project, because that's just spamming the group, So, anyways, yeah.
I feel like I did, yeah.
I mean, is there a Hack Greenville?
As long as you got an hour plus on the call.
No, I'm not gonna. Yeah. There you go. Just put me at 2x speed, just like you do all your YouTube videos, Alex.
Ben, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of the phone phone dongle company that
Magic Check.
Yeah, there we go. Magic Jack. And so apparently they seem to be doing this free PBX thing, and the dongle that they gave you just connected to some cloud server running free PBX, and off they went to making tons of money. I actually have one, but they
Man, I didn't know that Magic Jack used free PBX, but I'm not surprised. It's really powerful software. I've used a Magic Jack before. Funny story about that. I used to do tech support for senior citizens for free, just in college or in high school. I mean, because it was fun. Got to talk to a bunch of interesting people. Somebody had a Magic Jack and they were trying to tell me, oh, it doesn't work. And I looked at it and I was like, why doesn't it work? And I found out they had forced the audio or the Ethernet jack in upside down, the phone line jack upside down. I was just like, how did you even do that? I can't even remove it from here, without a lot of, I nearly broke the connector off. I'm like, how did you do that? And they were like, oh yeah, the maid who put it in said it was really hard to do. And I was like, that's your problem. And then it worked as soon as I flipped it upside down. Those are the types of problems you solve, when doing that. Yeah, no, Magic Jack is cool.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a free PBX system or what, but I just assumed it was asterisk based.
Yeah, it probably would be. I mean, you could make your own company doing this, if you wanted to. I mean, there are a lot of competitors. You'd probably need to find a way to stand out, but, like that, you could.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
Well, if not, Zach, we really appreciate you coming. This was really, really cool. So thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
And with that, I will see y'all next month. Thanks for coming tonight. Thanks, everyone online. We'll see you next month.
Cool.
Oh, Hondo.
Hey, Jace, who's speaking next month? Jace. Okay. Never mind.
Hondo, did you have a question? You are muted if you did. We're still here.
Hey, Jace, what are we talking about next?
Nope, he says. I think.
Next month.
Or Nooper. Okay. Well, good to see you, Hondo. Thanks for coming tonight. See you, Shay. Take care, Ben.
Now when people call my house and says, please listen carefully, it's a mute option.
Recently changed. That's always recently. Oh, man.